So today's webinar, Dining with Dementia. So I'm Dorothy Colby, and I'm the Director of Community Engagement with Hale. Hale is a company that has 3 memory care homes. We care for people who are living with dementia here on Oahu. I actually started with Hale way back when they first opened in 2005. And I actually, after having had a previous career in social services, working for the United Way here in Honolulu, my midlife crisis was I went to culinary school, as was Kay's. Went to culinary school. I love to cook. I love food, and I wanted to have food make a difference in the lives of families. And I started working at Hale in the dietary department, actually. In the very first location. And so it's a topic near and dear to my heart. I still love food, love cooking, and it's something that can bring us all joy multiple times a day, thankfully. So today's, at all of the webinars, I am part of the Positive Approach to Care, and that is an organization that works to help support and change how we view and move through this journey with people living with dementia, to really put ourselves in their, not just shoes, but see the world through their eyes, to understand what's different for them, so that we can make adjustments in the environment, and in this case, the food and the dining experience, that really supports them with the skills that they have now, and helps us know what our role is and what things we can do to make things better for both of us. So Hale is a Positive Approach to Care certified community, and I'm a Positive Approach to Care trainer. And these techniques and these things that I'll be sharing with you today are things that we do teach to our staff and implement here at Hale as well. So you will see Tipa Snow. One of the handouts in the chat is from her, and many of the content of the slides, but also we'll see a little video of Tipa in working with someone a little bit later on in the webinar. So what we're going to do today is look at what is it about eating that can be so wonderful and also can be so challenging. What does it take to eat successfully? That it sounds like just a simple question, but it's really quite complicated. How do we strike a balance between nutrition and preference? What should I eat versus what do I actually eat? Hydration, dehydration, as many of you I'm sure know, is such a challenge for older people, and especially people living with dementia. How do we know when things are changing? That's something that's not always easy to know. And what kind of accommodations can we make? And what's happening when we start reaching the end of life? What kind of things will be different? And how can we support people when they're not really eating much or at all anymore? So those are the things we're going to be looking at together today. Oh, one thing that was in the chat, and that was on the first screen, was please have just a blank piece of paper. It can be lined, anything, and a pen around. We're going to use it a little bit later in this webinar to do some dining practice together. So I want you to take a moment, because food is so much a part of our lives from the moment we're born all the way through the end. Take a moment to think to yourself, what is something that you love to eat, a favorite food from childhood that you love now, that when you think about it, you're like, oh gosh, I wish I could have that right now. And who made it for you? Just jot it down. Who made it for you? When did you get to have it? Was it a special occasion food? Was it something that was there when you got home from school? Was it something that you steal from the cupboard and sneak? Whatever it was, think about what that food was, what kind of food that was, and then just kind of jot that down for a moment. For myself, there's one food that it still speaks very strongly to me, and there's this photo of me from my first my first birthday party. Chocolate. I love chocolate. That is a big understatement. I really love chocolate. I love dark chocolate. You can see here, I'm really getting into it with my first birthday cake. And even that's my mom holding the cake up to my mouth like that. I don't know how many parents these days would let their kid just go out of chocolate cake like that. But anyway, it's very clear. So even like the smallest amount of chocolate for me just kind of hits something. It just and I very much associate it with special occasions and the special food. When I was a kid and when they'd say, "What kind of cake do you want for your birthday?" I used to like to get the I don't know if it's just a Hawaii thing, but the dream cake. It's chocolate on the inside, had vanilla on the outside, and then all these chocolate shavings that look like confetti over the outside. That was just like special every single time. So that's something that if you know me, you know about me. And as I get older and if I start to be living with dementia, that's something that's going to be very powerful for me in your relationship with me. So I'm going to move forward here a little bit. So before we start looking at what does it take to eat, when you're looking at the food that was, I'm going to go back 1 second, that was for you, a lot of times the foods that people tell me are this kind of powerful food for themselves, it's often something that's very, very sweet, something that's very, very salty. So you can look at yours as that, something very, very crispy, like a crispy piece of salty fried chicken, something like that, or something very comforting like a stew or a soup or just something like that. So these kind of things are tied up not just with that how good it tastes, but the sensory experience and the emotion around it as well. So what does it take to eat? So when you stop to think about for yourself, what kind of things have to happen for you to be able to successfully eat? Well, the first thing most people think about is, well, I need to be hungry or thirsty. I need to be able to understand. Oh, hold on, just gonna move some things out here. I need to be able to pay attention to the meal. I need to know what's edible and not edible. I need to be able to see it. I need to be able to sit up. I need the strength to be able to sit up, use my arm, use my fingers, use tools. I need to be able to use my lips and keep it in, get it in. My mouth control, getting the food into the right place to be able to chew it properly. For drinking and soup, for example, even off a spoon, sucking, I need to be able to swallow. All of these things need to happen. And then some of them seem very small. It's like, oh, I need to be able to use my arm. But if something happens to any one of these pieces of this puzzle, we start to have challenges, and we can have serious challenges. So if you look at all of these and if you take your hand and wave it around your head, your brain, you think of all the different parts of your brain that control all these different things for you. What controls which part of your brain controls your vision, which part allows you to understand what's edible and not edible. As dementia is progressing, all parts of your brain are being affected, and these things start to have a challenge. And so how do we help when we start to notice these things happening? So this is just a picture of some generous people's brains who donated their brains for us to see what a brain looks like after death. So the one on the left is a healthy brain with no disease process going on, no Alzheimer's disease. And what's the first thing that you notice about it compared to the other one? It's bigger, right? The color is lighter. It looks kind of juicy and fat, whereas the other one is shrunken. This is someone who passed away due to Alzheimer's disease. These are people the same gender, same age, but there's a lot of actual matter lost, shrunken on the outside, and there's a lot of missing pieces on the inside as well. So a lot of times when people think about dementia, and specifically most often they think of Alzheimer's disease, we think of memory loss. Well, memory is just one part of the brain, the part of the brain that helps and controls with the parts of the brain that help and control with memory are one part of the whole puzzle of our brain. Our brain controls everything about us. And this photo is really, I think, a great illustration of the comprehensiveness of the change that's happening. So when we're thinking about how we can build a great nutrition program, it's one thing to know what you think you should eat, or you think the person that you're caring for should eat, what is required, what do they want, what makes sense, what do I know how to cook, what works, what doesn't work. But it's striking a balance between that and what the actuality is. So what I like versus what's good for me, those can be two very different things. I love chocolate, but let's say I'm diabetic, right? Yeah, boy, and I'm living with dementia. You leave me with a box of chocolates, what's going to happen? I'm going to eat every single one. And even now, with a fully intact frontal lobe, I have to remove that box of chocolate from myself physically and put it somewhere else. Otherwise, I could even unconsciously eat more than I want to. So what I like versus what's good for me, what my lifelong habit is versus new needs. So I have different health issues. I'm supposed to be changing something, but I have this lifelong habit. So that can be a challenge. How I make it versus how you make it. This is especially challenging for people who are care partners. And I faced it even with my own mother. She would make things a certain way and it was good. And if I made it, it was not good, even though I felt like it was close to the same. But no, there can be a difference there. What's nutritionally sound versus culturally sound? What's prepared versus what's eaten? You can make the most, I'll put air quotes, perfect meal, fulfilling all the dietary requirements of the person that you're caring for. And it's exactly what they should be eating, and you put it down and they don't eat any of it. That perfect dish just has zero nutritional value right now because you can't get it in. So how do we do that? I remember I knew a wonderful woman at Hale many years ago who would only want to eat Vienna sausage and hard-boiled eggs and M&M. That is all she wanted to eat. And if you I served her a salad and she just looked at me and said, "Honey, my doctor says I'm allergic to salad." So I knew what she should be eating. She should be eating some vegetables, for goodness sake. But that is not what I was going to be able to get her to eat. So that is just an example. I still smile when I think about that wonderful woman. So now I'm going to have us think about ourselves, because we're all in the same boat, inhabiting human bodies, us and the people living with dementia that we're caring for. What is your doctor and every place you read on the internet, what is recommended for brain body health? Of course, lower sugar, lower salt, lower fats, smaller portions, more fruits and vegetables than meats, more whole grains. Great, that picture looks extremely delicious. But be honest, what do we really eat? I know many of you looking at these things, Kay and I, when we were looking at it earlier, we're like, oh, that looks really good. Those malasadas look really good. I myself forgot to eat breakfast rushing out to come here today. I'm like, oh my God, I need something to eat. What did I do? I pulled into a Kazuya and I got myself a Spam and egg musubi. Not the healthiest breakfast, but personal childhood favorite. It was familiar. It was easy to get. It's what I could have offered up to myself in just a few minutes in order to still get to work on time. And it hit all the buttons, but boy, that is not a breakfast I'd want to be having every day. So we are not different than those that we're caring for and trying to support, whether it's professionally or personally at home. So, but knowing what is my personal favorite, what is familiar, what kind of things do I like, even if they're things you think I shouldn't be eating so much. It's important to know these things, to try and kind of put them in the overall menu and the overall moments of joy. So it's not just all or nothing, all the previous slide of fruits and vegetables, but including things that are wonderful too. Wonderful, and we enjoy. Hydration. So people this is not just people who are living with dementia. The problem of dehydration is so common. Dehydration, not drinking enough, increased risk of UTI. But as we age, our kind of our thirst mechanism, this is not related to dementia, our thirst mechanism that triggers us like, oh, I'm thirsty, I should have something to drink, is not working as well as it used to. So by the time an older person, a senior, is actually feels thirsty, they are already somewhat dehydrated. So it's a little late off the mark here. So I'm not getting that trigger as I should. I have a lack of awareness. I may have issues. I remember my grandmother was like this. She didn't want to drink too much because she worried about incontinence. She didn't want to have an accident. So that can become a habit that I've developed over time as as people start to have urinary incontinence, especially women. On the younger end, that's a habit she developed that would be hard to shake. Hang on. Many people just don't like to drink water. So it has to be something flavored. So you can see on this picture, there's a lot of options here. There are ways you can help out with increasing hydration. Don't think of it as just water or just cups of what are liquid. Things that are flavored are fine. Things that are slightly colored or flavored can really, you eat with our eyes. Fruits, vegetables, soups, jellos, frozen treats, all those things. Rainbow jello, oh my goodness, that's another childhood treat that my mom would make that I thought was so wonderful. That's another way to get things in. The other is about being creative is, a lot of times, especially when we're caring for someone at home, where the caregiving duties can be really overwhelming, and a lot of times it's enough to just get the food on the table. Here's the food, and you have other things to do. It's very hard to get motivated to eat when you're dining alone, but even something as small as taking a moment to sit down with the person and hold up your cup, doing things together, saying, cheers. If you have a cup there, cheers to you too. I salute you. I'm taking a couple sips of water. Maybe some of you took a couple sips with me, but if I were sitting at the table with you, people love to toast, even with something as simple as water or whatever is at the table. And that it's all about the relationship. For in that moment, I'm not telling you, Mom, you need to drink more water. You hardly drank any of this water. Come on, you need to. Okay. I let go of that. I love you. I'm with you. I celebrate you. Let's toast each other. So that's another thing that can be really helpful. This is just a little list of things that are full of fluids, but some are easier and some are harder to eat. So there's the texture. A lot of people who are getting older have issue with dentures or tooth problems. Also, with the progression of dementia, texture is more important to me, especially as I get to the mid or later stages. I need things that are pleasant for me. So if it's too crunchy or too hard, I have a hard time with it. Same with vegetables here. You can just kind of glance at. You can always cook things so they're a little softer, than the harder ones. The ones on the high fluid, harder to chew, those you might have to cook a little bit longer there. So the thing that I want to emphasize today is watching for changes. When I say watching, we're going to put on kind of a detective hat in terms of like a Sherlock Holmes, in terms of like observing. So what are we noticing? And the videos I'm going to show today, I'm going to have you look at and see what you notice about the people that are living with dementia who are eating in these videos. And sometimes it's hard because we're so close to the people that we're caring for. It's hard to take that step back and look as if you're seeing them for the first time. But if you can take that moment, time out, take a little bit of a step back and just watch and say, gosh, I never noticed that she holds the spoon that way. That must be very awkward. Or, oh, I didn't really notice before that she's only eating things off of one side of the plate. What does that mean? So being that kind of good detective can really help in narrowing in where the challenge for me, what the challenge I'm having is, me, the person living with dementia, and how you might be able to make some changes to support that. So this is a lady at Hale, and you can see her food is cut up. She has chopped diet, and this is rice here, and you can kind of see she has some accommodation. She has a cup with a cover. I'm going to play this really short video, and I want you to watch closely. What do you notice? How is she holding the fork? How accurate is she? Is she aware that there's food on it or not? So here we go. Notice her grip. There, she got it. Took a little bit. Given how quickly she moved, how fast would you say her cognitive processing speed is? Took a little moment, didn't it, before she was able to get it. So you're going to want to watch for things, changes, looking for changes. All dementias, whether they're from Alzheimer's disease, strokes, Parkinson's, whatever, or some combination of the many different causes, are progressive and degenerative. So you just get where things are working and I got it all set up, it's working right, and then there's a change. But being aware that changes will happen and being able to look for them will help you and the person you're caring for so much. So these are the kind of things around dining, what's eaten, weight, how they're doing, how they're swallowing. Are you noticing a lot of coughing? All those things are areas you might find change. So eating is an important part of our day. No matter what changes to the physical food, puree, chop, all those things, it can still be delicious. We get to have 3 meals generally. People have 3 meals a day, or maybe some people might have some more frequent, smaller meals. But it's one of the things that we do as human beings that we could really be in the moment. And it's something for our residents here at Hale and for my many family members who I knew and loved, who lived with dementia through their lives. It's one of those kind of golden opportunities each day to have a wonderful sensory experience and to have that small moment of connection, relationship with the person who lovingly prepared the food for them. So it's an opportunity, even though I know it can be a challenge, but it's opportunity too. Okay, time for your paper and pen. So what I would like you to do is take your blank piece of paper and just draw a big circle on it. And I didn't want to challenge people's drawing skills too much, but if you want to draw food on it, you can. I just drew a giant yum. Just draw a giant yum on there. And then you're going to grab a pen, and that's going to be your fake spoon. I have a spoon here. That's going to be your fake spoon. So what I'd like you to do is right in front of you on your table, you can put your plate in front and then put your spoon, your pen or pencil, just right to the right of the paper. So it's not on the paper, just a little to the side, kind of like in the picture there. Great. So you have a meal in front of you now. And I am your lovely table mate sitting across from you. And you are living with dementia. So we talked about how the dementia affects the entire brain. And for this moment, we're only going to focus on the changes that dementia brings around vision. So if you touch the back of your head, that's your occipital lobe. It's the processing area for what you see through these 2 eyes. So your eyes are taking in all this data, all this wiring between the front and the back, processing back there. So you get to look at that beautiful, plate of spaghetti or whatever it is and think, oh my goodness, I know exactly what that is. I'm going to tuck into it right now. Before we look at what the changes are, we want to think about the journey of dementia for just a second. And some of you might have attended the GEMS webinar that I did earlier in the year. It is recorded as well, but all of us are living with brains, and all of us are aging, and there is change through normal aging. That's the first gem, sapphire at 12 o'clock there, going all the way around the clock, diamonds, emeralds, ambers, rubies, pearls, all the way through the end of life. So there's these gradual different changes that go on. And if this is your first time hearing about the gems, the gemstones are a way for us to talk about and think about these precious individuals that we care for and understand their changes. So diamonds are sharp and hard and cutting. They need routine. Green means go for emeralds. They're kind of time traveling, on the go. Ambers, like the sap stuck in the moment. Rubies, red is for stop and go. And pearls, reaching the end of life, like an oyster hidden in the shell. But we're going to just focus on vision with these. We're going to take a look at how our peripheral awareness changes. So not vision, I'm not going blind in my peripheral vision, but because my brain is shrinking and dying, like you saw in that picture, I can only process so much. So my awareness field gets smaller and smaller. So I want to ask you to try this. You have your plate and your spoon next to you in front of you. Okay, and I'm your care partner. I'm your caregiver here. So if you are living with normal aging, if you put your hand about like this, so I'm sitting up like this, and you're looking at me or looking at your screen, while you're still looking forward, can you still have an awareness of this plate and spoon down here? So I can kind of see it out of my peripheral awareness is 360, not just sides like they test you on the driver's thing. So without even moving my eyes, I can kind of see that there's a plate there, right? So when I'm with you, I can chit chat and talk, and I still know I have food. I don't have to, it's always kind of in my vision area. So the early stages, the diamond stages, if you take that, kind of looks like little wings here, and turn it into a snorkeling mask. We're all familiar with that here in Hawaii, snorkeling. So just kind of bring it in a little bit here, a little more under your eyes here, just like you have your scuba mask on here like that. Now, looking forward at the screen or at me, can you see the plate and spoon on the table? Not really, right? And you kind of look, what do you have to do to see it? You gotta look down a little bit, just a little. Okay, yeah, it's there, and come back up, right? You take it off again, you kind of see how your peripheral awareness comes back, right? So now we're moving from the early stages to the more mid. Let's take this down to binocular. So go ahead and give it a try. Put a binocular vision on like this. Now, for sure, can you see that plate? Plate and spoon? No, right? Move your head how you have to move it. Okay, now I've moved my head all the way down to look at the plate. Can you see that spoon that's to the right, off to the side there? Probably not, right? So if you put those binoculars on, you look down at that paper, it's like the spoon disappeared. Where can you put that spoon so that you can see it? So I'm trying to support you, the person who's living with dementia, to be able to see that. You're in the emerald to amber stage. Where can I put it? On the plate. So go ahead and try that. Just stick that spoon in the stew bowl and take a look. Oh, there it is again. There it is again. So I'm not seeing things the way that you think I am. It seems so obvious. There's a spoon. I don't know why she's not picking it up. Right, Mom, here's the spoon. I'm just not seeing it. So the last one, close one eye and put a monocle on, and take a look down here. Now what do you see? And more importantly, what don't you see? Half the plate is gone. The spoon is gone, right? Because I have mine on the right side. Maybe if it was on the left side, maybe I would see it a little better. But I've known people who eat just half the food on the plate. And then if you rotate the plate, then they can eat the other half. They're just not aware of the half. And so when I notice things like that, when I notice, they're not seeing the utensil, but if I put it in the center, that is an indication to me that their peripheral awareness is changing. They're eating half the food on the plate. Their vision is becoming more monocular in their awareness. The other thing I want to have you think about, let's go back to we'll go to binoculars here, is you're looking at me and we're chit-chatting and I don't see my food, and then you walk away. You come, let's say I'm eating, okay, so you're eating, and I come by and I say, "Hey, Catherine, how are you doing? How's that sandwich?" And what's Catherine going to do? "Oh, hey, hi, yeah, oh, yeah, okay." And then I walk away. Is she going to be able to change back down? Maybe not. I've interrupted that process for her. This vision here that she's using to look at me is her social vision. So I'm socializing. This down here, look down at your plate again, that's task vision. I have a task at hand. My brain can only do one thing at a time. If you want me to do the task, help me to just only do the task and don't interrupt me to do social vision. I've had many families ask me when they come and watch a meal here, how come the residents aren't talking to each other? I thought, I moved my mom here so she'd socialize at meal times. Even our residents who are very chit-chatty, at meal times it's quiet. And it's because they're focused on the task at hand. And that's an important, wonderful task. And even though you and I can move back and forth between chatting and talking, it's hard for them. So we enjoy the meal, and when it's all done, then time for chit chat. So just something to keep in mind there. So the next few groups of slides are about the different gems, and there's a lot of detail, and you'll have these, but I want to kind of go through them each a little briefly to think about the major changes and ways to support. So, if you are a person who, we're all people who are aging, everyone on this, let's see how many, 71 of us on here are at just different stages of our lives. We might have to adjust things for ourselves. Our activity levels changing with different medications. We might need things to have texture changes, but those are part of normal aging dietary changes. For people who are living with dementia, when you start into these the early stages, the early stages love routine. I like to sit in the same seat all the time. Because if things are all exactly right, then I know what to do next. If things are different, it throws me off, and it may seem that I'm just being rigid and stubborn and even mean about it. Right? Someone's sitting in my seat, I might yell at them. It's because I'm trying to do the best I can in that moment, and I don't know how. I can't be flexible anymore. This early stage is very, very rigid. Also, the early diamond stage is worried about money a lot. Diamonds are expensive, right? So I don't know how to pay for this. I can't, that's a very common thing that you might hear. And so the reassuring of, it's all covered, it's free, it's on me. Those things can be reassuring to the people in the early stages. So knowing what the person likes, it's okay if something is introduced as new over and over again. Oh, I never had this before. Oh, you didn't? Wow, I'm so glad we're having it today, even though you've had it a million times before. It's okay. It's okay. Expecting complaints and to not take them personally, to be able to say, oh, I'm so sorry, you're right. It can be a hard thing to say, I'm sorry, you're right, when you know that they're wrong and you're right, but takes practice. So I'm going to go forward to here. So with the next gem, the green, the emerald changes, I am not aware of the challenges I'm having, and I'm making more obvious mistakes. It's so clear to you, but it is not clear to me at all. I don't notice that I'm dripping and spilling, or that I'm having trouble with my utensils. It's just becoming really, really hard for both of us. This is where you might start correcting me more because my mistakes are so obvious. Like, no, you can't eat your soup with a fork, Mom. What are you doing? Well, yeah. So pause when you start seeing those mistakes. Pause. Take a breath and realize I'm doing the best I can. And it's not that I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing what I can. So is this a so what concern? Meaning, if I'm eating my soup with a fork by accident, instead of correcting me to say, oh, hey, I got this for you. It might be a little bit easier. Yeah, let's switch. Oh, okay. All right. I'll try that. Instead, so being friendly and not bossy, and role modeling. Again, I know time is short, but sitting down with the person can make such a huge difference. And instead of doing so much telling, sure, this soup is good. It's more encouraging, and it just feels better. So there might be some things that you need to make adjustments as I'm progressing here. I might eat too fast or too slow. Modeling, like I said, I'm going to show you a video. You might need to use different kinds of plates and utensils. I'm going to show you right here. So this is another lady at Hale. So you can see she already has some adaptive plates. So she has got a plate with a lip around it, so it's easier for stuff not to go flying off the plate, like this lady here on this side of the regular plate. She's got this special cup that has the very large handles, so whole hand can fit in there, as opposed to a little cup like this where only your fingers can hold. I'm going to play it. So notice that she's using a regular spoon in this first video. How steady is she? What's her grip like? Which fingers is she using compared to the ones that you might use? And what if this had soup in it? Okay. All right. Rice is a nice sticky food. You can stick a lot of stuff to it, so it didn't go flying off. But that cup here on the side here is not her drink, actually. It's her soup. Because how would she be with soup? Not that great. This is a double ceramic cup, double-handed for soup. Adult-sized hands can fit in here. So the next one is she's got a weighted adaptive spoon. So that's this kind of spoon right here with a fatter handle. It's a little heavier, has a bendable top so you can angle it, right? So you don't have to do as much skill work. So take a look and notice what's different about this now. Even her grip with that wider handle, how does that look compared to the first one? The second one, she's eating a little wetter food. That's like a Asian stew, it looks like. Yeah. How's that tremor? She still has a tremor. The weighted spoon is helping to kind of smooth out the edges of it. There she goes. Success. I'm going to pause at this shot right here for a moment. I'm laughing because you notice her dessert is put there. But she's still eating her regular food. But what would you bet the most common response is to dropping dessert on the table while someone's eating their lunch? They're going to stop eating lunch and start eating the dessert, and then they're going to be done. So that's something else to keep in mind. I've seen it happen a million times. Yeah. Okay. So now we're moving on to the mid. We're going to move to mid to later. So the amber stages. So this amber stage, it's all about the senses. What does it feel like? Well, I start to lose a lot of skill. So these three fingers here are our most skilled fingers, right? So when we're holding spoon, forks, knives, right? We use these fingers, pick things up. These two, if you hold your hand up, strength fingers. I start to really lose the ability to be very skilled with these, but I still have this, which is why things like this kind of cup is good, because look, I can hold it with these. I don't even need to use these skill fingers. But this kind of smaller cup, or if you got, let's say, a kid's sippy cup to try and use, the handles are too small. They would require these little fingers. That's kind of hard. So keep that in mind. Things that can use these last three fingers, the last two plus the fingers. I start to use my hands more. I am not really interested in what's good for me. I'm all about the now and what's in front of me now. So what I see, if it looks good, I will try and eat it, even if it is not edible. So I like what I like, and if I don't like it, I will spit it out. and I might have trouble getting started as well. So I might need some support getting started. But once I get started, there's certain things I can do really well. This is a stage where finger food might be better. So I might, if you gave me that plate of stew, like in that last one, can you imagine me eating that with my hands? It would be kind of hard, but provided I can still chew, well, maybe the rice in like a musubi form. That's a classic thing. You can pick it up, has the nori on the outside, so you don't get quite as sticky hands. That's something that maybe I can manage. And then I'm doing it myself, and you don't have to try and spoon feed me with that. So this is the other thing, this one here, the last one on the left, taking other people's food. Those of you who are professionals or work in long-term care, I'm sure you've heard this said about a resident, like, oh yeah, she, watch out, she steals everybody's food. Well, if you put those binoculars back on and you're sitting at the table with other people and you aren't aware of this down here, if you can imagine, go ahead and put your binoculars on, and you're looking at your neighbor across the way and they have another resident and they have a plate of food. Do you think you'll be able to see their plate of food? Yes. I'm hungry. I see food. I'm going to take it. And I'm not stealing. I'm responding to what I see and how I input the world here. So that's okay. And then as we're going to Ruby, this is where I'm getting to the monocular vision stage. So when you have monocular vision, you start to lose your depth perception. So even if I could see a utensil, it's hard for me to get it. Chances are I wouldn't have the skill to be able to do it. I start to have trouble with chewing and swallowing. I'm pocketing my food. I'll happily put the food in my mouth, but it just, like a chipmunk, starts to build up in there. And my brain doesn't know what to do next. So at this point, slow down. We're going to talk about hand-in-hand assistance. I am losing that skill pretty much altogether. And so I need you to replace that skill for me. So here we go. I'm going to show you a video here. So this is Teepa Snow in a long-term care facility, working with a woman who's at the later stages, the later gems, helping provide hand-under-hand guidance. So if you notice, Teepa's hand is underneath, resident's hand is on top. This resident cannot use utensils anymore, or hold the bowl, or sit up at the table even, you'll see. So take a watch. So watch her, this lady's name is Lucille. Watch how Lucille and Teepa work together.
That's good. Here you go.
I've never seen her open her mouth that big.
Yum. It's because her hand is coming to her mouth versus you poking her in the mouth with your spoon. And her brain going, whoa, what's that? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. And this is like, oh, okay, I'm eating. Got it. That's pretty easy once I know what it is. Here you go.
Notice when her mouth opens up. Does she need to be poked?
Isn't that
to open
fun?
it up?
Oh my.
Both of you are going to have a better time. And what I'm doing is supporting under her elbow. And so that gives her a little added information.
Okay.
And when I do that, she can sit upright a little bit better too. And I can judge.
Is this not amazing?
How does she know when to open her mouth?
I get thrilled when I learn something new.
Isn't that fun? Yeah. We're going to try the same thing with Miss Frances a minute and see if she's okay with it. See if she likes it. She eats fine right now, but time will come. Is it good, Lucille? Do you like chili? It's pretty tasty.
Wow.
There you go.
So Lucille is missing some skills, but together with Teepa's hand, together we're whole again. And how does she know when to open her mouth? If you're, I'm I'm sure many of you have sat eating a half asleep bowl of cereal, just like Nadia. How do you know when to open your mouth? You've done it a million times from the minute you were able to get hand to mouth, spoon to mouth as a child. Your brain knows that feeling. And that's what Lucille is feeding herself with the support that she needs. Pearl. So the last gem, as we get close to the end of life. So if you picture an oyster, take your hands to make an oyster shell, a rough and craggy, sharp shell. But if you just peek, if you can open this little peek inside, there's a beautiful pearl inside. The body starts to shut down, being unable to swallow anymore. I can't manage the liquids and foods. I aspirate everything, including my own saliva. So, and my body cannot fight infections like it used to. And no amount of feeding is going to keep me alive. I just cannot process the food. Even if I were to have tube feeding, which is not recommended for people with advanced dementia, I still aspirate. I can aspirate on my own saliva, aspirate on kind of like a reflux of the tube feeding. It's so hard, and I know from personal experience. Food, we associate food and eating so much with life and love, and it's hard to see someone who is not able to eat. And you're tempted to even try and feed them with a food drop, eye drop or something. But it's a natural process. I'm not able to process the food like before, and it can do more harm through forcing food or drink by allowing me to aspirate and kind of drown that way and get an earlier infection. So this is hard part. We're going to help them eating for pleasure, not for sustenance so much anymore. So if I'm interested, great. If I'm alert, great. But if I'm not, stop, take a step back. Just tastes can still be pleasurable. The body is naturally shutting down. So when my time comes, when I get close to the end, I know the smell of chocolate. And even just you put a little bit of, that is something my brain will still light up for that. Small tastes of, I've had families, but small tastes of whiskey. My mother-in-law, when she was passing, had a particular cocktail she hadn't had in a long time that she wanted to have just a little spoonful of. So not enough to choke because she was unable to swallow anymore, but still, it was wonderful. We toasted together with her. With that, she was still there through the very end, and we were able to enjoy that moment with food and cocktails, but not for nourishment. Or not even for hydration, just for the pleasure and the love of it in the last moments. So how do you know when you're getting to that point? Work with your physician and probably hospice at this point. You'll start to see a lot of coughing and choking, inability, a lot less consciousness. So the final message related to food and drink is, it's not just about getting it in and getting it done. It's about the relationship and how I can support you all along the way. And in this particular case, with food and drink, even through the end of life. So some of the things, this will be in the slideshow you get, where can I get these things? There are a number of places, of course, Amazon. So for more about positive approach to care and different aspects of dementia education, teepasnow.com has a lot of resources up there. I really highly recommend it. I'll be sending you some links specifically about the gems in the email I send afterwards. The adaptive plates and cups and things that you see, like this one came from the Right Stuff, and the bendable spoons you can get there, but they're on, some of them are on Amazon as well. Clothing protectors. So a lot of times you hear people talk about bibs, adult bibs and things. I like to kind of get away from the baby words, so there's ones that look more dignified. You can get ones like they're pictured here that looks like a giant kind of scarf. So it covers all the clothes. It's bigger than any napkin or even a regular bib, and it looks more adult and more dignified. Or you can sew your own on those too. So I'll send this information out too. If you want to learn more about dysphagia, which is the swallowing difficulties that do come with aging and with dementia in particular. This was many years ago. My hair was much shorter. The Hawaii Medical School, JABSM, did a video on dysphagia. I and Rena, who was also a positive approach to care engagement leader, were one small part of it, but we did demonstrations of, I put my chef's coat on and did demonstrations of preparing different textures of food. And also we did talked about this hand under hand and dining. So that video is up there, and I'm really excited. It's in many languages: English, Samoan, Ilocano, and Chuukese. So I hope you can check that out. So the quiz it was not really a quiz, it was just kind of an opening thoughts that you did during the in the waiting room. I think we've hit all of these things. There's a lot of ways to get fluids in. Things can be overwhelming, whether it's the environment or too many things on the plate. To keep it simple, keep it where I can see it. I have a hard time moving back and forth between eating and chit-chatting. It's not just about taking over and starting to feed me. There's things you can do to help me be able to still do things myself. If I can get hand to mouth, I can do finger food. If you can help support me to get started, maybe once you get me started, then I can do it, like an old car engine can't start. Or there may be a point, like with Lucille, you need to be there with me the whole time, but I'm still participating. So it's not just taking the spoon and shoving it in like that. And yes, absolutely, towards the end, problems with drinking and swallowing and choking, for sure. So I want to thank everyone. We have a little time for question and answer. Thank everyone for coming today. Thank you so much for everything you do for people in your lives who are living with dementia. You make all the difference. There's one more workshop in our series. It's about holidays next month on the first Wednesday. If you want to know more about Hale Kuike or view the past recordings, it's halekuike.com. I already mentioned Positive Approach to Care at tipasnow.com. And then we did a series with Catholic Charities in 2020, and that series is all online as well. So